Varus is open for top esports if they want it. Azir notably open as well. We've still got Rumble as well in terms of those top lane picks that we might look towards. So a couple of contrasting picks, pound for pound. We've got Orianna as an answer potentially to the Azir. Victor's still open as well. Expectation is that this might just get locked, but instead they opt for the Varus. You know, so those are the two premier picks. The Varus and the Azir typically do see hits on the bans. One of them gets picked, the other one obviously going to get taken. Now things like Poppy actually increase in prio for BLG when you've got this Azir. We've seen that duo work, unfortunately, against BLG significant amounts of times. And maybe that's something that will now have a niche increase in priority for this game.
I love that Knight gets Azir for game number 1, though. Both these mid laners love this pick. It provides so much prio and a lot of playability there, especially even in the side lanes. And now you have that Jhin set up on that side. Don't necessarily love the Jhin into the Varus in that 1v1 setup, but you're picking it for that utility, for that cleanup damage. And Top Esports going to go for another part of their carry potential in the Aurora.
Now this is a flex pick. We've seen IG actually flex this really well, and we need to sort of highlight the fact that this could end up in that top side, but the expectation is that Creme is going to take it. We haven't really seen anything from 369 to anticipate that he picks this up. And Top Esports, instead of locking in a jungler here, they are going to get that pool pinched. Opt for the Alistar, so they're going to get their premier pick of supports. And now we'll get to see whether BLG value a pick for Shadow here, or whether they're happy to handshake trading some of those junglers and maybe playing something that is very, very low priority on our jungle picks.
I can appreciate giving Hung something of comfort there. Obviously, the newest member to the gang for Top Esports, trying to find where he fits into everything, and he has fit in very well, right? I think that on that Alistar, it's obviously a very big comfort pick for him. But the Nico, it's always looking to try to upend the win conditions of the opposing side, and On, he's pretty devious with it.
Yeah, and it's a good engage pick as well for BLG. They've got decent setup, decent dive. I actually really love Azir Jhin as a pairing. Jhin is a AD carry, not something that provides a lot of consistent DPS, and you draft the Azir to be able to do that as well. So, you know, the setup there really does look quite good. I'm a big fan of this Poppy ban. Like we talked about, this is something that increases in priority when you have the Azir on your side. So it's wise from Top Esports to take this off the board. And with double support bans, double support picks, excuse me, we're looking at those junglers as being the pool that gets pinched. It looks like BLG setting up maybe for a Xin Zhao here with the takeaways of Vi and Wukong. We expect to see Top Esports have a slightly weaker pick in that jungle if they don't get their hands on the Xin. And the Ornn being banned away there. So setting up probably for the Rumble for 369 on the top side. So maybe a little bit of contention here between, do you want to go for the Rumble early, or do you want to have to take this high priority jungler?
Yeah, very curious what that top lane matchup ends up being, because there is room for it to be a little bit spicy up there if it does end up coming to it. But, you know, my expectations were trying to get those early picks onto the jungle to get that prio for you, but a lot of the picks obviously weren't that big focus in the draft itself early, and now still some big ones on the table here with the Xin Zhao locked in for Shadow, giving him so much skirmish potential through the jungle.
Maybe Skarner then for Kanavi gets locked in here. I mean, this Rumble was a given that it was going to get taken away. The Rumble ban, or the Ornn ban, signifies this, or suggests this as well. And I really like Rumble Skarner as a duo. Like, the power that those two have is you can impale one side and use the equalizer over the top of it. Instead for Kanavi, though, goes back to an old classic, really, in the hot pot duo. But the Azir's got a shuffle to get out. He's got a wall as well to shove the Jarvan out of it. And you know, maybe this is a priority target, trying to take down Elk instead of Knight.
Yeah, trying to put you know, a live fish into a hot pot. It's not going to go well. It is going to be the Ambessa in the end, though. Backline access there to threaten, and we do see Ben get the counter pick, something that, you know, maybe feels right at home for BLG.
And I think that that's really important for BLG. We talked about the fact that we're really impressed by Knight, you know, talking about potential MVPs for the split. He's in that conversation. Been a player who previously in 2024 we'd been throwing you know, mentions to that as well, but hasn't quite been hitting the exact same level at this point. So we need to see whether or not he can start to return to the high prio to be that Giga Bin that we've known of the past.
Yeah, hey, Giga Bin needs to be unleashed at some point. Can't keep him in the cage for too long. But game number 1 setting up to be a banger between both teams. I don't think we have a stark contrast onto what teams kind of come out better. I think it's a lot of mechanical excellence needed to come through from both sides. The bar is a little bit high for both teams, at least it feels like, on the executional ceiling.
I mean, when you've got two teams that have got 8 wins already in 9 and 10 games respectively, that's an expectation that we can have from these two squads, that they will be able to find those wins and be able to hands check, honestly, in these team fights. The last time these two teams met, it was in, like you say, the peak of the shadow honeymoon phase. BLG swept Top Esports aside. Top Esports have since found a little bit of form, and I don't think it's going to be that easy for BLG this time round.
Well, again, this is the final time we'll see this matchup before we see it deep into the playoffs. See what these two top teams have in store as we get into game 1 of this best of 3 that is sure to deliver some bangers. We want to put huge focus on this jungle matchup. Shadow taking this task for BLG, being that facilitator, being that shot caller, versus what was once King Kanavi, still the regular season champ here in the LPL, trying to make his ends meet with Top Esports. Game number 1 kicking off now. Oh my god, that picture of Elk is insane. That was not, dude. I swear, some people out there, like, I don't know how quickly they're putting some of these posters together. It looks like they spent like a month on it. Like, it's actually beautiful. Like, yeah,
I could spend a year on it, and it would be looking significantly worse. You know, the talent that we have in the community and in the fandom as well, genuinely very, very impressive. So keep it up to everybody, and for everyone who's just contributing, making sure that the LPL is doing exactly what it needs to return to its former glory, and to hopefully, I think, push itself into what could be a Worlds tournament that we actually remember, with, you know, the strength of AL seeming to return, and hopefully get to see these two teams, Top Esports and BLG, now have a heavyweight clash. I think if we send 3 strong seeds, maybe a 4th one of IG gets thrown in there as a bit of a wild card, we could have a very, very entertaining Worlds event.
I completely agree. One of these teams has to take that step forward. Are 8-2 in the standings versus 8-1. BLG still have that extra series to play over Top Esports with the later start to them, but I like this invade coming through from Kanavi, just early, stealing away after the blue start for him on his blue side.
Quick little yoink there just to take that away, and
that's annoying, man.
Yeah, immediately pass straight back down to his bot side. Shadow missing pinging his Raptors, like, what, huh? What happened? And we'll see whether or not there ends up being a slightly longer advantage that gets given over to the Jarvan because of this. But he's actually already making his way down to this bot side. Elkin on, pushing this in very quickly. We need to get that ward down in the tri-brush, or push this wave, base, get a cull. Like, those are the two traditions that you will see, is that you either crash that 3rd wave and get a ward in the tri-brush to protect yourself, or you'll look to reset, grab a cull. Looks like Elkin on, though, they want to push this advantage, and I'm much more a fan of this than just looking to reset. They've got a lot of pressure over the bot lane right now with this Alistair, and with the Varus not quite having hit that mark just yet.
That's going to be the Arcane Comet, kind of at least lethality style Varus with the poke. But this does end up meaning that Kanavi is going to return towards topside. So maybe this is just the grand scheme of things. Go try to pressure bin early with this weird style of clearing speed, as Shadow, he's going to go look for his first outing in mid lane after completing his full clear.
I mean, it's important to remember that when you have no camps to clear, or when you take away camps from the jungler, that means that jungler has got extra free time on the map. They're not spending time clearing a 6th camp. They're walking around on the map, sniffing for an invade, sniffing for a potential gank. And, you know, when it's not successful, or when it is successful, it can be a little bit weird. You know, if Creme gets ganked there thinking, well, why isn't he clearing the crab? Why isn't he clearing his 6th camp? It's because he didn't have a 6th camp to clear in the first place.
And looks like top lane won't end up being anything for Kanavi either. 369 ended up pushing that back out, so I'm sure that back is just going to come through, but that does mean Shadow got his back off ahead of time. We'll get that redeploy out a little bit faster, and probably just going to be okay with clearing down to the bot side. I mean, Dragon coming up in about 40 seconds. Do we see either side really putting priority to that early stacking?
I'd like to think that we see a little bit more priority from Top Esports. I do think as this game gets later, their outright 5v5 team fights are a little bit more difficult to execute, just because you're having to play up against an Azir in the late game. And on, not the most sneaky little minion that we've ever seen invade, but might actually force Creme's flash here. Good dodges from Creme means that he's actually able to get out to safety. And actually, Bin now left on a bit of an island.
Oh, he's going to try to use that mobility. Oh, my God. Grandma's got moves. That's all I'm saying.
Massive wave being lost out on, though, on this bot side. And with no teleport, that's a wave and a half that's being lost worth of experience. I mean, we'll see whether or not they get denied any more. And just kind of as you'd highlighted, right? Like, if there's a team that needs to get early priority on a Dragon, for me, it is Top Esports. Trying to play this late game versus Knight versus the Azir, definitely not something that's going to be easy.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, you're just seeing that kind of level between these teams. There is always an answer to any kind of play. Has now been overextends his hand in a 1v2, trying to get back over to this turret. Now it's turning into a 1v3. As Kanavi just starts off some of the damage. Yeah, 369 is going to take an extra turret shot there. 369 should have probably gone to clear the wave here. Ben's going to stick around. He's not even close to level 6. He doesn't have anything available to him. The CC chain is too much. Hung able to tank it up for the squad. And that's first blood for Top Esports. Meanwhile, JackeyLove in some trouble. Insta-cleanse with the Captain Jack on, using the tank cannon minion to tank some extra damage here. The piercing arrow is not enough, and JackeyLove survives.
Okay, Elk there getting a little bit baited, actually, by the fact that the turret he thinks will have been ramping up, but because it was hitting a minion, there wasn't really that much damage. Elk could have walked out without flashing. JackeyLove able to survive on that top side, though, and they really needed a third member to try and make that work.
That's busted.
Not able to do so. It is, yes.
That's ridiculous. I'm like that. That's some high-level thinking, high-level gameplay there from On.
We've seen it a couple of times where the Nico turns into a minion and then you just, you take aggro, you switch to the minion before you've dealt damage, and then you're just able to, tank the turret for an incredibly long amount of time. But, really good heads-up play from JackeyLove. He doesn't even flash, just knows that a Jhin on his own isn't going to be able to do the damage to me. And he's able to get out.
Wow. Some fun plays early, but to kind of refocus on the map here, because we did see that early dragon taken by Top Esports as that response to the topside play, but we're getting the reset now from Kanavi. Go up towards topside because Grubs are in about 50 seconds.
I mean, flash down for Elk, it means that he's going to be a little bit more susceptible to going down to this Jarvan Rumble combo. I think that, honestly, for BLG, it makes it really tricky to try to contest this objective on the top side, even though you've got a slight advantage in the Jin's gold. I mean, he just gets melted by a hot pot if they decide to bring 369 up to this top side. Looks like he's buying tier 2 boots and moseying his way back out toward the bot side, so probably not going to be the case, as we sort of highlighted this a little bit through the early game and through the pre-show, but interested by this mid lane matchup as well, Mazel. As much as our junglers are going to be highly sought after and the real linchpins for how this game goes, I think if Creme can perform versus Knight, that gives Top Esports a much higher chance at success than we saw from them in the previous series.
Yeah, I mean, this has been one of my favorite matchups to watch in mid lane here in the recent history of the LPL. Watching the development of Knight and Creme's careers against each other now, as now we get the invite into a fight here as Chains of Corruption come down and On is already dead just right off the get-go. Creme comes in with the Between Worlds. Elk doesn't have much damage at this stage, and that's 2 kills going over to Top Esports. JackeyLove gonna flash. Elk get in some trouble here. The rain of arrows coming in, and that's gonna be Creme cleaning up with a triple kill for JackeyLove.
And if we were talking about MVP performances from Knight, for Top Esports, for me, it's JackeyLove this season who's actually been incredible. He's in that conversation for me, and he finds a triple kill in the start of game number 1 to actually show his mettle, to show us what he's been able to do so frequently throughout this split.
Oh my god, Knight with a beautiful layup play onto Creme. On ends up getting the kill with that last little strike, but a really clean answer from BLG in their first kill of the game.
And importantly, no flash used there by Knight, so he can rinse and repeat. He can scoop Creme up every time that ulti comes up and is available. And with the setup that Shadow will have as well, with the damage coming through from a tunnel early on, should be able to have enough damage to take down this Aurora on repeat. This is the start of that fight, though, again. BLG just, I think, standing a little bit too far forward, and the chain CC, it's a double knock-up from the flag and drag from Kanavi, and he actually spaces it out really well. He knows that he's the focus, he's the only one that Shadow has access to deal damage to, so he just backs away, lets his team do the hard work. Lets JackeyLove find a triple kill, and from there, it's a short road to success and picking up those grubs. 3-0 for Top.
And the conversation has never been, is JackeyLove bad? We know he's good. He's he is the remaining genius AD carry left in the league out of the 3 of them, at least in this kind of position. And I mean, a lot of the conversation always been, you know, choking in the biggest moments, choking when it matters most, and not being able to rise to the performance that we see from him consistently. But JackeyLove has made himself famous for being a carry for a reason, and I think he has shown out not only this year, but especially here in split number 3, and as you say, in that conversation for most valuable player. And that being said, with this career that he's had, how long he's been at the top of the game, feels good to see him stunt on people as Chains of Corruption, as I talk about it, goes live. He's getting him delivered to him by Hung here. The combination you never knew you needed. They might try to get the kill. Kanavi with the slam as he gets that dunk over onto BLG. Now Shadow want to fight. Equalizer coming out now from Top Esports, trying to retreat as they do get the re-engage from Hung, but the public execution comes in on the 369. The Hung has given his life for it. BLG do respond.
Okay, overall, this is still just barely beneficial for Top Esports because Creme gets alone time with 3 grubs on the top side. The teleport down to the bot side from Knight to try and salvage this play doesn't really net them all that much. Top Esports get a 1-for-1, and I mean, they just hated Nico. Like, I know we talked a lot about On getting caught out. He was walking through his own jungle. He'd done largely very well in the evasive maneuvers, but the fact that he dies there was a sort of a part of Top Esports' pride almost. It felt like they needed that in themselves to be able to carry on with this game. They do get punished for it, and I like the fact that Hung actually commits himself back to the fight, so he just says, okay, take me, we've over-aggressed, we've griefed a little bit, and he accepts that he'll be the one that has to die for his team.
JackeyLove now on the lethality Varus at 3-0. Already has the Yumu's. Gonna be getting closer to that second item spike as well. A little bit of map rotation from BLG, putting a lot of presence on this bot side. Could be looking to upend that dragon stacking that TES have been so current about. Although it is just one more objective for TES to end up getting the feats as well.
And with the early dragon, 3 grubs, I think that, you know, finding this third Drake, second Drake, third objective, obviously going to put them in a really good spot with that. 1,500 gold lead at the minute for Top Esports, and in a composition that needs to snowball, this is a good start out for them. 5-2 is an okay scoreline for the time being. Not by any means, you know, game warping, but let's see if they can continue to find those neutral objectives. We need to move JackeyLove around the map, put him in positions where he can begin to poke, begin to probe away at the HP bars of BLG. And if they don't end up contesting, then great, we get a free objective.
All right, so BLG just willing to give over these moments, saying, you know, maybe this composition comes together once we actually hit our first second item spikes here. Knight's going to continue trying to scoop up gold in the side lane, but he is getting surrounded by the sharks of Top Esports right now. On is going to deploy out and be here to kind of rebuff Top Esports off the play they wanted to get. And a little bit of readaptation of the lane power, and especially Shadow coming down towards bot side should stop Top Esports' advances.
A couple of recalls now coming through for Top. They made their play, able to find a Drake down on that bot side as Creme and Bin throwing out a couple of hands. Remember, Leandri's finished for the Aurora already, means that he is quite scary, despite the fact that Bin has gone for
that. Oh my god, that was such a long dip. That was from a full screen away. And 369 just gets cooked.
Puts the equalizer down, gets the majority of the wave, but this cannon is still going to go begging, and it's once again Knight looking for these plays on the Azir, whether he's calling for it or Shadow's calling for it, it doesn't matter. It's big plays being made on the map by this Azir, and you know, this was a pick that Top Esports gave over. They gave JackeyLove Varus in favor of giving Knight the Azir. So this is an opportunity, and this is a conscious decision that BLG made, and it's one that they're going to have to try and make the most of.
I gotta say, that was like one of the longest Shurima shuffles I've seen. It was so long on the distance, and Knight just expertly piloting this Azir. There's a reason why it was so proud between the two mid laners, and that's why it was so shocking to see it go over to that red side. We did end up seeing that turret kind of bursted down by Top Esports, and they're still playing to their conditions here The double Leandri is completed, but first item's going to be there for both sides. And I got to ask, the Rift Herald's coming up. I mean, it's up and available now. We have some preemptive vision from both sides, but does this item spike really change the way these fights play out?
I would just say top esports should still win a 5 versus 5. We haven't yet made it to critical mass for the carries of BLG. I mean, that we're still waiting on finished first item for both Elk and for Bin on the top side. So for BLG, like, it should just never be a conversation about if we're contesting this.
Looks like that's the case. Don't even need the jungler there to start it up. He will end up coming in the end. Join the squad, get the Rift Herald, and that'll be some open gold for them, especially in that mid lane. Try to crash down into that turret. It's very low. Do end up having a collector start now for Elk.
Every time they try to move Knight out of that mid lane, it's constantly getting the tier 1 turret harassed on by JackeyLove. These 3 kills haven't yet been fully utilized in a team fight, but they have been utilized in terms of chipping away at that structure. He's been able to get a little bits of poke, little bits of advantage as well. You can see he's a full level up over Elk. Every single time that the wave is under the turret, he's constantly harassing the Jhin, looking for those piercing arrows, looking to leverage the early gold that he's been given, as he's working his way hopefully now towards that Muramana and that 2-item spike that the Varus tends to hit, maybe a little bit accelerated by the fact that those 3 kills came through.
All right, they're going to choose to pop the Rift Herald before the dragon even gets close to spawning. Try to get this outer turret down. It's going to be charged in by Kanavi himself. Shadow goes over the edge. Might have just gotten his team killed. He gets the 3-man pulverized from Hung. Knight ends up getting away but gets knocked up. Kanavi is just on a rampage here. Oh, he doesn't hit the flag and drag as now the equalizer comes down. The pulverize comes out again, and Hung just had a master class of an Alistar performance there. The Rift Herald has now been delivered down towards bot lane. They might even get another charge off if they can, but the turret's gonna fall. The gameplay goes to top esports, and that's so much more gold going in their pockets.
And it's once again the jungler from BLG being a little bit of the reason why they're faltering. Shadow there goes for an engage when the turret falls, with no hope of really ever coming out on top of that if they aren't going to win a fight around a Rift Herald.
Oh no, Bin didn't expect for Kanavi to be sticking around. There's the curtain call coming out to try to save him. He gets the 1 kill back, and Bin gets the outplay. The 4th shot's there, and the Sundered Sky ends up taking his life. The flag and drag gets Kanavi away. It ends up being a 1-for-1.
But again, still going to be a beneficial outcome for top esports. BLG will maybe take the 1-for-1 after the fact, but let's take a look at how this all started. Shadow gets chunked down by a combo from Creme, and then looks to go in here. The turret's already dead. There's a Rift Herald that BLG would have to fight through. It just doesn't make sense. And Hong saves his combo for once Shadow has flashed out, and just so happens to be able to taxi into a triple. Again, I like this from Knight, where he's using the Emperor's Divide to buy space from the Jarv, and it's a good foreshadowing for what will happen later on. Or maybe this is even better foreshadowing from top esports. With no flash on Azir, it means that he is a sitting duck, and 369 and Hong take him down without really any problem.
And I want you to look who has 100% KP. It's none other than King Kanavi in the jungle. We talked so much about this guy, and there's been so much focus on him since his time away from JDG, since his time trying to make a new name for himself on top esports, and he has done that this year. He has been absolutely incredible in a majority of the year for top esports, and he has been the general that he always was for JDG, but with a different banner.
And we just hope that he can continue that into playoffs, into international, and return to the form that we fell in love with on that JDG roster.
Public execution. Yeah, I mean, they got everything used on him now. He's going to go golden with the equalizer on top, but Kanavi's going to try to make his way here. 369 buying so much time. The redemption coming in. Oh, beautiful crescent guard from Shadow to separate Kanavi, to stop him in his tracks. That will be all they get, but it's a big pick on a 369.
Really well played, actually. You know, like you called out, Crescent Guard timed perfectly from Shadow means that there's no opportunity for the for the Jarvan to get in, and a really solid little skirmish down on that bot side. You can see Bin using the mobility of the Ambassador to get in range of the public execution, and 369 not able to perform the outplay. Taking down the Rumble once again on that side lane. Good from BLG that they're accepting. We have some members on the team that can still make plays, and that we should still be looking for those. BLG are looking like a team that are looking really good in these side lane skirmishes and picking off people who are overextended, but in those team fights still haven't put it all together just yet.
Not yet. Hung's going to stop. Ben is just backing in the middle of the lane here. JackeyLove's coming down as well. Will have the Chains of Corruption. Should pop that immediately. Is going to connect in the end. Going to get the 3 stacks of the Blight. Now looking to damage back with a hail of arrows. But now Ben might have one back. Okay. 369 comes and sits him down. Almost got the kill back at a 1v3.
Yeah, this champ's fine, by the way. Even still, I mean, he had a level lead. He had an item and a half. And in fairness, again, JackeyLove tanked everything. So we can only be so mad at a certain point, but he does take. Dude,
when you see a top lane, like, what can you do? You just lose. It's like a moth to a flame. You just lose all thoughts. You just walk straight at him. All right.
Must hit, and you know, in fairness, JackeyLove, he did do that hit, and he kept the Ambassador down. Gets again now his, I think, 4th kill of the game. But it's worth highlighting that we are seeing, I think, really good performances from Hung in this game. Even just that play right there, actually, you know, walking forward, stopping the recall with the E of all things is really important, because it means he gets to save headbutt and pulverize to get JackeyLove in range, instead of just giving him the time to be able to walk out to safety, or maybe use the Ambassador to get out, or make it a little bit more difficult. But we've got Atacon now spawned down on that bot side. Mazel, this is where our attentions should begin to turn. And we're waiting for that 3-item spike, or 2-item spike rather, to be fully hit by JackeyLove. He's a couple of stacks off of his Mirror Mana, and when that gets hit, when that is finished, BLG need to really fear for their positioning around neutrals.
Yeah, and it comes down to how these team fights want to be played out, right? Like, you have a lot of ultis set up from top esports in a lot of ways. Like, they want to use these ults to really kick off these fights. I do feel like BLG can play a little bit more reserved with them. They have a lot of peel abilities, but then they can kind of bite down when they need to.
Looking at those items, we talked about the 2-item spikes. They've been hit pretty much across the board for top esports, whereas, you know, BLG, they're sitting on really weak 2-item spikes for their AD carries, and Elk with just the RFC and the Collector. Knight, importantly, though, he's got that 2-item spike of the Rylaive, so I think that he's got a pretty big chance in this team fight to go a little bit nuclear and hope that he can make the difference.
Oh, Creme was looking for it onto Elk. He saw him extend just a little bit, realizing that maybe getting his flash out could do a lot. They're going to play towards this bot side. Get this push going here. 4 members of top esports.
I mean, this is all just posturing to see if they could sneak an early Atacon, but I don't think either of these teams are going to look to particularly start it up. You see Knight gives it a poke to try and deal some chip damage back to top esports, but we've seen so frequently that starting this out is a pretty risky affair if you're just going to rip it off the, you know, with no deaths. So we'll keep our eyes out for top esports and what it is that they can do to look to extend this play. The longer that we spend down on this bot side, by the way, the closer we get to Soul. We've got a minute left until top esports' Soul spawns. And with this 2k gold lead, they should be feeling pretty good about their ability to walk in and take fights against anything that BLG put down.
They're going to try to catch out this fight. Shadow decides he wants to go in. The Between Worlds going to use from Creme to get away from it now. Shadow loses a lot of his health, but we'll have the Honey Fruit there to try to get a little bit more back, but he's still pretty low. Neither team really set up just yet around this dragon, as the reset's going to be coming out from Ben. He will have TP, but this is a fight that BLG need to take. There's no more waiting.
Yeah, and you can see the division down on the bot side. You know, triple pink ward or double pink wards on the Atacon and one in the brush just outside the dragon as well. Whereas top esports, they're a little bit less set up for this specifically. Now though, they can go in and start to re-establish a little bit of that control for themselves. I want to take a quick note of summoner spells as well. Everything available. This is your all hands on deck team fight where everything is up and ready. People need to be expecting that. If I'm firing my heavy ultimate on somebody, I want to be expecting them to flash away from it, and we can't just leave them sat in Cataclysm.
Kanavi just goes straight into the Knight, flashes away from the Deadly Flourish. BLG are rebuffed from this entrance here. Shadow goes in for the fight. Hung getting a little bit low. It's not going to be the unbreakable pop just yet. He still has his tankiness. BLG going to get the dragon down to half health. Kanavi looking for the entrance, trying to decide what way he wants to go. Hung going to pop the heal with the spellbook. They need to get into it. 50-50. Chains of Corruption, and it's Shadow's locked down. The 4-man Pop Blossom comes through with the equalizer on top of it. The Hot Pot special has been delivered. BLG, they have been taken off the objective, but Knight goes in for a 4-man. The Dragon goes the way of Kanavi in the end. TES try to fight their way through this one. Elk shutting people down. 4 shots, not enough. JackeyLove sits him down. Now more kills going the way of Top Esports. Bin in trouble. Bin gets hit by the hail of arrows, and Top Esports comes away with 3, comes away with the soul, and comes away with a team fight win.
An ace for Top Esports. They take not just all 5 members of BLG, not just the Ocean Soul, but maybe even a look at this Atacon as well. Nobody from BLG that can contest is up for another 17 seconds. 369 goes back to base, he TP's back in, and Top Esports, they just needed that one fight to really push this game over the edge, and they found it in the bot side. Looking at how this all breaks down, I mean, 4-man start from On. How is this not an instant wipe for them? It's Kanavi. He backsteps, double knock up on those diving carries, so Bin can't follow through with the DPS, so On can't layer it down. And importantly, the fact that this Ocean Soul gets picked up means that Kanavi gets another combo through. He gets a chance at damage onto Elk. It means that 369 is able to sustain himself in the front line, and that the rest of this DPS isn't put onto JackeyLove or put onto Creme. And getting that soul just in time for the fight was the big ticket.
And this is the difference between other teams and these Titans going at it. The fights are on a knife's edge. The mechanics are on full display. And JackeyLove is right there with the best of them. 6-0-5 for the last genius in the league. And now we get the all-in onto Bin and onto the BLG top side.
Shadow gets caught, and with the Atacon down, Baron up, no jungler left to speak of. Knight, though, fancies Hong.
Curtain calls open up. 369's going to block out those shots, and unfortunately Elk not able to follow through on the rest of that one, as On going to get followed through on by Kanavi. Hail of arrows into the piercing arrows, and there's just arrows flying at BLG's face as they are just getting picked apart here. The vultures of Top Esports have found the body here, and they're going straight to the Baron.
Hong, do they know that Hong's here? They want all of it. They want everything from BLG.
They have no idea. Oh, they got the flank. Knight, the MVP candidate. He goes golden. Is it enough, though? Equalizer everything as he gets taken out, his hand cut, and the Baron refocused by Top Esports.
Shadow rocking out from the base, but there are no Hex Gates. There are no Zackies to fling you across the map. You will just fall and lose that Baron. Midwave cleared out, so BLG can get nothing in response. And I think Hong on this Alistair in this game, Mazel, has been putting on an absolute masterclass. 0-2 and 16. He may not be 100% kill participation, but he's finding very, very important combos. These headbutt pulverizes, not just in the middle of team fights, but creating these unique angles to get involved. He's doing such a good job at setting up Top Esports, and now when they've got the Baron and the Ocean Soul at their backs, surely this is game number 1, signed, sealed, and delivered.
And who knew that Hung and Kanavi was the combo to make it happen? And both these guys nearing 100% KP against another one of the top teams in the league. We asked what the growth from these teams would be like all the way down the road, all the way down here in the second round robin, so far away from that blistering start that BLG had with Shadow joining the roster at the beginning of the split. And this is a Top Esports that has matured from that moment, that has become the Titan we know them to be in the regular season, time and time again.
And for Top Esports, it's about making sure that they can erase the blip on their radar from yesterday. A shock loss versus IG after they took game 1.
That was a terrifying point.
Hoping that they can, translate this into a game win. And then honestly close out the series. I mean, it's a much more difficult opponent, I would say. BLG versus IG, it's definitely favoured for BLG. And you look at Top Esports laying waste to them so clinically, so efficiently here.
Hung just decides that's the end. That's all they want. They would just want BLG's base. They want everything. They go ahead and type in that cheat code. All your base belong to us. 100+ gold and 100+ moments for Top Esports to make it hurt against BLG. The turret's starting to fall here. The last Nexus turret is still there, but the minions aren't necessarily in position And now you have the Sun Disc up to get BLG some time here. They're trying to clear the waves, but the Baron minions are still there for 45 seconds. Creme trying to take a 1v1 against Ben. That's not going to go too well, but the next minion wave is going to crash. The Sun Disc will not save you anymore, young Emperor, as Knight tries to get his way away. Then the last Nexus turret falls, and Top Esports, with one last effort, will put down BLG in game number 1 in triumphant fashion. 8,000 gold up.
A meticulous snowball from Top Esports, and it's really good to see, Mazel, that our teams that are taking these heavy action early game snowball comps are actually able to execute on it. So frequently we see this be the case, and I mean, I'm looking at WE, for example. They are, again, aficionados of picking these comps and then just losing with them, and they try their hardest. But with Top Esports here in game number 1, they've done such a good job at accelerating that pace of the game, making sure that they put themselves in this winning position and taking those fights around those neutral objectives with the exact right timings and with the exact right plays.
And just taking a snapshot of that one fight around Dragon Pit, like the mechanical ceiling you see in that one moment between these two teams, it feels so refreshing to watch, right? And it ended up being the straw that broke the camel's back. Obviously, the Top Esports kind of took it from there in a lot of ways, a couple fights after that too, but it's those kinds of moments you're like, all right, this is what this series can live up to. And I think BLG will want some of those decisions back. I think the comps were pretty even. It just came down to some of those decisions in the early game. The pathing, I got to highlight Kanavi. I mean, obviously both Kanavi and Hung almost had 100% KP, but that early movement, kind of that little cheeky steal of the Raptor camp, the little movement around the map from Kanavi, he was always where he needed to be.
And again, it's another one of those situations where when BLG are faltering, it's Shadow that costs them a little bit, right? We talked about that he, in their series versus AL and even in the series versus Weibo here, they struggled a little bit as Shadow. And I think that, you know, with that honeymoon phase maybe being over and with BLG struggling a little bit more so here, it calls into question whether Shadow has sort of had his time in the sun and what it was that was working so well for them previously, and if you can start to draw that back, and more so for me, reminds you that when you're up against the best of the best, and Kanavi, in terms of our jungle pool, is the best of the best, you can't be having these mistakes, you can't be having these moments of indecision without being punished.
Yeah, I think if you look over the span of the year, Kanavi has been consistently one of the craziest, bloodiest, aggressive junglers we've had. And it's a pleasure to watch. But yeah, I want to go back to that kind of conversation. It's funny. I'm going to make memes of it, make fun of me if you will. But the memes of the honeymoon phase, right? When you come home after being on vacation, you're in good feelings. You got to remember, somebody has to take out the trash. Somebody has to, feed the dog. Somebody's got to, take care of the fridge. Everything needs to be taken care of, and we aren't seeing that kind of same synergy between the picks and the execution that we were seeing when Shadow had first come into the roster. And some of that shot calling setup that we've talked from Shadow having now on the squad, I want to see that, but I also want to see the step up of the other members. That's what I came into the day saying. That's why they had looked so good. Shadow's fine. Yes, Shadow's great, but everybody else around him were living up to the expectations set for them, where I don't know if we not got that consistently in Split 2, and especially not in Split number 1.
I think Knight, to go to that point as somebody on BLG who, did step up a little bit, the early game and the mid game plays being made by this Azir, they were pretty palpable, right? Like the ways that they were coming back into the side lanes, actually doing really well, and usually using the Xin Zhao to try and make that play happen. But sometimes using the shuffle, using the scoop for it, and we even did see a couple of...
This play was so good.
Yeah, I mean it was. But again, this is off the back of Shadow going for an engage that he shouldn't have done. And Knight here again, I think playing this about as best as possible, and it's just through sheer will and determination that Top Esports decide that this guy has to die. And I think that's a really solid way to be approaching any series versus BLG. Is if you keep Knight at bay, you've done a good job.
You've done a good job. That's one of the biggest ways to kind of take down BLG, as we've seen. And I got to give it up to JackeyLove. I love the KP from, the jungle support duo. But JackeyLove really showing out why we put him in that same MVP conversation as Knight. When you give this guy a tool, when you give this guy a weapon, he will pay you off for it.
And we talked about it in the game as well, the fact that this draft was decided on a B1 Varus instead of a B1 Azir, and then you give over the Azir to Knight. Oh, guess what? He paid it forward, right? We gave him the virus, and there were question marks. Is giving that Azir over tonight worth it? And when you get JackeyLove virus in this instance, the answer was yes.
Apparently so. Yes, 1,000 times. I believe he was unkilled, unless he died at the very end. Maybe he did. I don't know. But just an impressive performance from a guy who has been at the highest level for so long and is really showing out here, at least in split number 3 for Top Esports. It feels like it's been a long time coming and still a long road to go. You got to remember, though, Top Esports, not that long of a road, honestly. 3 series after this one. So getting close to the wire here, getting close to the very end. Again, one of these teams is going to kind of take that step forward from the other after this series.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important to remember that every game is going to count. If these 2 teams end with, 2 losses and 2 series losses, it then goes down to game score. So if Top Esports can snipe away a 2-0 here, that's very, very big for them to not have this looming threat of, maybe losing out on a series that, or losing out due to a tiebreaker. I know BLG have, had their fair share of game 3s that they've been able to close out. But we got the MVP here. I think Hong.
Dude, the support
very valid.
love is out.
Yeah. I mean, this game Hong was the MVP for me, without doubt.
Okay, I like it. I can agree. I think some of those moments were really, really good from him, setting up for the team, connecting with Kanavi a lot of the times.
Did you see there was a thread as well around the LCKs not giving their version of MVP to supports unless it was carrier? This was yesterday, so this is maybe in a little bit in light of that.
Well, there you go. That is going to be it for our first game of this banger series. I do expect it to go the distance, but if we take game number 1 for anything, it's worth. Top Esports looking like the dominant hand here. We'll see what BLG have in their tank after this.